Welcome back to the second part of our session on product branding in rural markets. In our previous segment, we built a solid understanding of how rural consumers identify brands and the critical role retailers play. We also initiated our discussion on core branding decisions. Now, our focus shifts to the practical aspects. How to build truly impactful will come into the three essential steps. Developing a simple, memorable brand name that resonate culturally, creating a brand identity that reflects rural lifestyles and values like strength and reliability, and crucially, building a brand image that connects emotionally. We'll also clarify a vital distinction: brand stickiness versus true brand loyalty. Understanding this difference is key to cultivating lasting consumer relationship. Let's discuss the strategies for success. Now we are arriving at the core of our discussion: building brands in rural markets. This requires a thoughtful and culturally sensitive approach involving careful planning and execution. There are three essential interconnected steps to building a strong rural brand. First, developing a brand name in rural markets. Second, creating a brand identity that resonates with rural consumers. And third, building a brand image that connects emotionally. Let's explore each of these in details. The very first step in building a successful brand in rural areas is selecting an appropriate brand name. A good brand name for this context should be simple, easy to pronounce, and highly memorable, especially for a rural audience, many of whom may have low literacy levels. As we discussed earlier, rural consumers often associate products with colors, numbers, or symbols, leading to terms like Landlanpanchen or red battery. However, it's important to note that some brands have achieved such high recall that rural consumers remember them solely by name, such as Nirma, Colgate, and Tata are notable examples. Companies aiming to penetrate rural markets effectively often choose names with cultural, linguistic, or emotional relevance across different regions. For instance, LG named its rural target television Sampurna, a Sanskrit word meaning complete or wholesome, which is widely understood across multiple Indian languages. Similarly, brands like Ajanta for toothpaste and Bhumiputra for tractors were intentionally named to resonate with rural sentiments and cultural pride. These names are not just memorable, they create an emotional connection by aligning with the consumer's value and everyday vocabulary. To recap brand naming in rural markets, the focus is on simplicity, memorability, and cultural resonance, acknowledging that while visual cues are important, a well chosen name can achieve strong direct recall and emotional connection. Once a brand name is chosen, the next critical step is to create a strong brand identity. This identity should intrinsically reflect the lifestyle, needs, and aspirations of rural consumers. Brand identity encompasses all the visual and emotional elements that make a brand recognizable and trustworthy. A common pitfall is designing brand identities with urban consumers in mind and then simply adapting them for rural markets, which often leads to a disconnect. For rural branding to be truly successful, the brand identity must align directly with rural values such as reliability, strength, social status, or cultural relevance. For example, Tata Shakti, Tata's brand for galvanized roofing sheets, uses the name Shakti to symbolize strength and durability, qualities that rural consumers highly value in building materials. Simply, Shree Ultra Cement has developed identity around its jung rodhak or rust resistant features directly appealing to rural consumers who frequently face challenges due to harsh weather conditions. Another successful case is Britannia's Tiger Biscuit, where the brand identity is built around a smart, active, and energetic child. This powerfully appeals to rural parents who aspire to provide nutritious and value for money snacks to their children, thereby reinforcing the brand's relevance and reliability in the rural setting. To recap brand identity creation, it must reflect rural lifestyles, values like strength and reliability, and resonate emotionally, moving beyond mere adaptation of urban designs. The third and final step in rural brand building is establishing a powerful and emotionally resonant brand image. A brand image is essentially the perception that consumers hold in their minds about a brand. In rural markets, this image must reflect familiarity, a strong emotional connection, and a deep understanding of the local context. Brands that successfully personify traits like trustworthiness, humility, social respect, and cultural empathy tend to perform exceptionally well. Consider the example of Mahindra and Mahindra, which has successfully created a formidable brand image among the rural consumers through its tractors. The company launched a tractor series called Bhumiputra, a term that translates to son of the soil. This naming strategy connected profoundly with farmers who intrinsically see themselves as caretakers of the land. It fostered a sense of pride and identity, making the brand much more than just a product. It became a symbol of status and belonging. Furthermore, Mahindra introduced the Sarpanch series of tractors, cleverly using the title of a village leader, Sarpanch, to appeal the consumer's aspiration for authority and recognition within their community. Such brand images not only drive initial purchases but also significantly strengthen customer loyalty over time, and they align deeply within consumers' self perception and cultural environment. To recap brand image building, it's about fostering emotional connection and familiarity by deeply understanding the local concept and aligning the brand with rural values and aspirations, as exemplified by Mahindra's Bhumiputra and Sarpanch series. Now, let's address a critical distinction often overlooked in rural marketing, the difference between brand loyalty and brand stickiness. Many companies mistakenly assume that rural consumers exhibit true brand loyalty. However, a closer analysis reveals that what often appears as loyalty is, in fact, brand stickiness. While both result in continued purchase of the same brand, the underlying reasons are entirely different. Understanding this distinction is crucial for effective rural marketing. Brand stickiness refers to a consumer's tendency to continue purchasing the same brand not due to deep emotional attachment or recognition of superior quality, but simply out of habit, familiarity, or a lack of information. In rural areas where literacy rates might be lower and awareness of product alternatives limited, consumers often lack the exposures to make informed comparisons. Their choices are guided more by comfort and a desire to avoid risk than by deliberate evaluation. For example, if a particular brand of soap or oil has been used in the household for years without issues, the consumer sees no compelling reason to try something new. The product becomes part of their routine, and changing it feels unnecessary and uncertain. In contrast, brand loyalty signifies a deeper psychological commitment to a brand. It develops when a consumer recognizes and genuinely appreciates the unique benefits and value the brand offers. The loyal customer forms an emotional connection based on past positive experiences, trust, and a firm belief that no other competing product can serve them better. A truly brand loyal rural consumer would actively seek out a specific product even if it's slightly more expensive or less readily available, simply because they trust its quality or have built a sense of pride in using it. However, such deep loyalty is still relatively rare in rural India, where purchasing decisions are often more influenced by accessibility, peer recommendations, and perceived reliability rather than strong emotional or value based brand relationship. The significance of this distinction for marketing strategies is profound. If a company mistakenly assumes brand stickiness to be true loyalty, it may underestimate the case with which a competitor can capture market share. Since stickiness isn't rooted in strong preference, it's vulnerable to disruption. A new brand offering a better price, greater visibility, or effective loyal promotions can easily prompt a switch. Conversely, if a company recognizes stickiness and deliberately works to transform it into genuine brand loyalty by educating consumers, building trust, and creating a relatable emotional brand image, it can cultivate long term consumer commitment that is far from resilient to competitive pressures. In essence, brand stickiness is a habitual, risk aware repurchase, while brand loyalty is a deep emotional commitment. Marketers must differentiate between these to build lasting relationship in rural markets, striving to convert stickiness into true loyalty through informed engagement and emotional connection. To summarize our discussion, this unit has emphasized the evolving dynamics of product branding in rural India, highlighting the strategic importance of tailoring brand recognition to consumers who are often characterized by low literacy and cost sensitivity. We learned that unlike urban consumers who primarily identify brands through names and advertisements, rural buyers associate products with cues such as colors, numbers, and visual symbols. Think Lal Sabun for Lifebuoy and Red Battery for Everready. Retailers play an absolutely crucial or critical role in rural brand promotion, often acting as trusted influencers and informal brand ambassadors due to their established relationships with customers. We also critically distinguished between brand stickiness, which is habitual repurchase without deep emotional commitment, and true brand loyalty, representing a profound trust and preference. Many rural consumers exhibit brand stickiness due to limited awareness, risk aversions, and retailer influencing, and marketers must recognize this to work towards converting stickiness into genuine loyalty through emotional connection and consistent value delivery. Our exploration of brand strategy in rural area covered key decisions: whether to brand at all, who should sponsor the brand, company or retailer, and how to name it, whether individually, family wise, or using a blanket approach. We also noted how first mover brands often achieve generic status in rural markets, with examples like Surf for detergent and Dalda for Vanaspati becoming synonyms with the product category. Ultimately, building strong rural brands involves developing a simple, memorable brand name, crafting an identity resonating with rural values like strength and reliability, and cultivating an emotional, meaningful brand image. Successful rural branding is not merely about product promotion. It demands cultural sensitivity, simplicity, and emotional relevance. It's about deeply embedding the brand with the rural consumer's lifestyle and aspirations. Companies that invest in building trust, fostering familiarity, and communicating in a context specific manner are far more likely to establish an enduring brand presence in India's vast and diverse rural landscape. Thank you very much.